do this one thing to manifest your dreams. Are you ready to find out what it is? So I have been studying Neville's work for almost a year. I'm almost about to celebrate my year anniversary of finding Neville Goddard. And I got his book. This is the book, actually, the Neville Goddard Deluxe Collection. I got this book November of 2023. So I found him August 11th of 2023. Got this book at the end of November and just finished it a couple weeks ago. So, and I'm recording this, I think it's like August 3rd. Yeah, it's August 3rd today. So this book, let's talk about it. How do we truly summarize Neville's work? How do we truly summarize the way he teaches the law? And I say that because the law is everywhere. The law is in the Bible. Technically, Christianity is the law, right? The law is in the law of attraction tips that you hear on YouTube and in the world with mindset law of attraction coaches. And the law is, of course, also when we talk about law of assumption, right? So Neville taught it. And now I'm also reading another book. I just got Florence Scovel-Shinn's collection as well, full collection. I'm reading her work. That's the law. I'm rereading Conversations with God. That's the law. I'm rereading A Course in Miracles. That's the law. I'm reading Joe Dispenza's work, and he has a new documentary, and what's happening there at his retreats, that's the law. So what is the law? The law is the source. The law is the force. The law is consciousness. And that consciousness, right? That consciousness is within you. It's the kingdom of heaven within you. So that power is within you. And whether you want to call that power God as big G God or God as you, the operant power God, it doesn't matter. It is the force. It is the source. It is the consciousness. It is God. But we are also playing a character in this human experience. And on my other channel, Destiny Vibes with JFO, I talk about your divine movie script in the sky in the day you were born that really gives you that hero's journey kind of overview of this really cool character that you're playing in this Earth Experiment movie. Okay, so you're a character in a movie. And I think a lot of us in the law of assumption world, we kind of forget that we're not just God. We are also human. We are also this character that is a human part of us, right? So it's really important to know that we are serving two worlds. But through your consciousness, through your free will, you get to determine and decide what character you want to play, right? So you know your movie, you kind of understand your themes. And when I say that, I just mean that I'm confirming for you what you already know. The hero's journey roadmap in the sky is just literally what you decided before you came, right? So it is the story that you decided to kind of play with in this fun Earth Experiment. But you are the free will operant power that gets to decide what's happening. So understand that no matter what you're doing, and in every second of every moment, you are always in a state of consciousness. So every Thursday on this channel, I really break down a really fun law of assumption technique that we can use to get into the state, okay? And a lot of law of assumption coaches and teachers, they all speak about this, even just people that are just studying Neville's work in, the Neville communities, on Facebook. I see it all the time. Like they're studying Neville's work to really understand it, because, obviously Neville's not the only teacher of the law, but he teaches it so uniquely and so innovative. I really do highly recommend this book, by the way. It's so good. But basically, I'm seeing that a lot of people do get tripped up in the technique. They're really obsessed with the technique. And I've done it too. I've gotten trapped in being obsessed with the technique and using the technique to get what I want and being so focused on getting what I want, right? But we have to go back to the core foundations of what Neville teaches. So remember, we are always in a state of consciousness, always. And a lot of times we're in a state of consciousness because we're in character mode and we're just reacting to what's happening, right? But sometimes we're in a state of consciousness because we have used some sort of technique, or maybe we didn't even do it consciously. Maybe we just took a moment to take a nap, or we took a moment to meditate, or we took a moment to do a little bit of a workout. And that activity, that thing we did, just naturally got kind of shifted us into a new state. So sometimes it's not a conscious technique that we're trying to do. Sometimes we're just doing something and we start to feel a little bit better, right? So there's certain things that can shift your state, but you have to understand that we're always in a state. So if we're always in a state, then how do we truly unlock our dream life? So I was reading Neville and I had this epiphany, and I realized it's the state on repeat. The state on repeat is the core teachings that you have to really understand and you need to really embody. So I'm going to read from Neville, and I just want to say that Neville, this is his full collection, and I decided to read it in order of how he wrote it. So I literally looked up like the year he wrote each book and then kind of read it in order, and now I'm rereading it in the order that it's laid out in the book. So the first book in here is called, let's open it, At Your Command. So I'm going to be reading literally the first page of that first part of the book. So this is literally page 6. Okay. So it's like the third paragraph. So here we go. This is what I was reading when I had the aha moment. So you do not command things to appear by your words or loud affirmations. Such vain repetition is more often than not confirmation of the opposite. Decreeing is ever done in consciousness. That is, every man is conscious of being that which he decreed himself to be. The dumb man, without using words, is conscious of being dumb. Therefore, he is decreeing himself to be dumb. So when I read that, I thought about all of the people who are obsessed with robotic affirming. Because technically, when you read that little paragraph at the beginning of his book, technically he's basically saying that robotic affirming that's not going to work, because he's saying it, these vain repetition, words out loud that you're saying. Now we'll get back to that in a second. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second, because I don't necessarily think that really is what he's saying. What he's truly saying, when you really break it down, is what are you conscious of being? That's when I realized it's the state on repeat. It's what are you conscious of being on repeat? Okay, now this is where it gets hard. This is the PhD level of manifestation work. A lot of people think manifestation work, because of The Secret and the law of attraction and a lot of like silly, superficial, like new agey, tips and tricks about this kind of thing. We really look at it as like this superficial thing. Like I want a sports car, so I'm going to get a sports car and I'm going to visualize the sports car, right? But that's not truly at the end of the day what this work is about. What this work is about is it's about mind management. It's about a disciplines of mind, and it's about always going back within instead of constantly being obsessed with going without. So technically this work is actually not for the faint of heart. People that don't want to do that work, don't want to take responsibility, this is really not going to be fun work, right? Because when you start to realize that it's the state on repeat and it's what you're conscious of being on repeat, that's when you start to realize, oh, I got to play the character. I got to get into the character of the wish fulfilled, and I really got to work on embodying that character as much as I can throughout the day. As they say, it's the dominant state that creates. So whatever you're dominantly embodying, that is what's going to be created. Now, here's where this gets hard, okay? We live in a society, we live in a world where we're not only programmed to constantly look outside ourselves to see some evidence of facts, right? And then that evidence of facts is what we have to like claim as truth, instead of recognizing that we get to create it from within. And so we're already kind of up against this collective programming of, not doing it the way that Neville has taught, right? So that's the first kind of blockage. And then the second blockage is that we start to really latch onto the desires, latch onto them so kind of like graspy, a very graspy latching onto the desire, that we get obsessed with this desire instead of embodying who we would be if we had the desire, right? So it's really the process of learning the states that you're in and learning how to access the state you want to be in more frequently. And at the beginning, it could just be 5 minutes in the morning of accessing that state, and then maybe you up it. Maybe it's 10 minutes in the morning and maybe you up it. Maybe it's just really coming back to yourself and asking yourself the question, oh, what state am I embodying right now? What am I conscious of? What am I conscious of being right now? What am I aware of right now? So I would love to know below, what questions do you have about this? We really need to go back to the core teachings of Neville and recognize that it's about the state. It's not about the technique. The technique is helping us get into the state. We're always in a state. We can't not be in a state. So it's really a mixture of awareness of what state we're in, awareness of what we really want, and that habitual disciplines of that high performance lifestyle, of really putting this kind of new embodiment of the state we want, right? The new embodiment of the awareness of being who we want into our daily life, not just one little moment in the week. I will catch you this week for more videos.